Welcome, dudes. I was watching this video. This is from Yorkshire Fossils. I won't play it because I don't think they want me to play it. But I'm gonna show some of these that I saw. So if we're at 25:44, this is Three Giant. It's just 7 hours ago. So here, this one. Let's just get in closer. Okay. This one caught my eye when I was watching because it has these very present like features off the side. I looked at it, I'm like, okay, this one, this mound, like if there's a current going spiraling in and then exiting though through like ridges that are forming, maybe it subtly is continuing. So if I look around, it's really interesting. This one goes right to this crack. This one goes right along this portion to that crack. Like it's not centered, is what I'm getting at. If we go around the structures, these cracks, this one's a little more centered actually. This one stems off of that. This to there. This one here. This one maybe is centered between, like from one to the other. Over here off of the boundary. Over here off of the boundary. Over here off of the boundary. I think off the boundary there as well. This one seems to go back to the middle there. Let's maybe go a little. Okay, now we can see it at this angle real quick. Okay, so that feature there goes to the boundary. And then there's also this crack goes here over this way, 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 this way. And there's like a general spiral in this fracture that also extends. So I noticed that and I was like, that's odd. I wonder what that could mean. And just watching, like if we look at the next one, let's say, they don't all have this type of like cracking along the boundaries. Like this one, like it doesn't have the same makeup, I guess. Although it's interesting for sure. That's interesting. This one extends to the boundary of the stone. Some of them don't. It seems that reminds me of this one, I think it was. Is it this one? Yeah. So it has these mounds at the end that are kind of like even continuing around with a ridge and kind of reflective of that ridge, showing it's probably like the same cause. Like this one is so closely associated with the ammonite itself that it would be reasonable to just be like, it's just one of these ridges pretty much. But this one is really like, what's up with this? And then it continues. A little odd if we think it's just fossils. But if we consider it to not be fossils, then it's less odd that it would have like the structure fading out but not actually just stopping, whereas a fossil it was more so just stop. It wouldn't continue like this. Okay, that's fine. This other one, so maybe this one, another one with a crack going this way, kind of off of maybe that spiral type thing that maybe is somewhere in here but has a crack off of it. This one is maybe there. This one's way less defined. But the reason I hit play was this one, I believe. Yeah, I think this was it. I think this was it, right? 2544, I think I said, actually. Alright, let's go there. This might be the same one, but little hexagon in the middle. It's got a good zoom so we can just look at the cracks. Like that one's kind of spawning from it. That one's right off the boundary. It's not like down the middle. At the boundary there. At the boundary there. Also at the boundary going sideways. Maybe that one's at the boundary. Maybe that one, that looks a little more centered, whatever's going on there. Now notice we're like entering into the ammonite itself. This is what I found it really interesting. And the one I showed first, it was a complete structure. It just had things extending outward, like cracks in the rock. But in this one, these cracks in the rock that in the other one just extended outward also overlay the ammonite itself, particularly in regions where it looks maybe less formed. Looks like another one off of there. That might be a little more centered, but it looks like the boundary, like this far boundary, not the top boundary, not the bottom of this whole width. Oh. The top boundary, not the bottom boundary of this whole width, goes to here. This one points to here. That looks a little more centered. Again, we got that crack. Cross current crack potentially related. That tends to happen a lot. And even be probably why they split, because this current leads to enough of a divide in the stone that it isn't structurally sound sometimes. In this case it is, but okay. That's right, I have it half speed. Now we can see all the, like notably this chunk here is related to that fracture. These little things going around, kind of reminiscent of these just like forming partially. So my thought was, like, what if what's happening is the current is focusing in a point in a location, but then that current starts to shape the region, like literally shape these mountains on a small fractal scale that then begins to cascade as far as it can into like literally causing currents to go across the ridges that provide like a barrier, so that basically a swirling current is more so going around and atop it, and then currents that get to the center can like burst out from these channels because they're under so much pressure that they can't just like hit the resistance, and then I guess there's some form of resistance that's really being hit by this swirl like down the drain, but there's like it's probably going down the drain and around the rock and back to the top, so it's like got a resistance to it. It doesn't just fall into a void so that it just drains. And so when it hits the pressure is here, it squeezes the currents out, which then etch mounds as far as they can outward, and then the current maybe is like, because it's the structure is here and then out here is more uniform, it's more like in a space where the currents are more balanced, so it like reaches that balance point at a location like here, at which point it doesn't have to just travel along the surface, so the current encourages it to basically go up and ramp into a lower pressure zone, but then over time it shapes the ridges in so doing, which then leads to a larger scale current that just begins to do this further out until it actually produces defined features of the ammonite across 3 dimensions. If like it's on the surface here, but it's through the rock. This is incredible. That, I feel like that made a lot of sense to me. Just above the center is this current going this way. And then maybe there's another current coming in here, creating a swirl within their boundary on this side they're coming from. They're both coming from this side, maybe. Which then induces a swirl over here, but centered more so towards the stronger current, maybe. Or the weaker current, I guess, would make more sense, honestly. Like the stronger current would push more of a boundary so that the stable eddy would form further away from it than the weaker current. Although this may be more of like a jet stream type current. This looks like it might have more of a just flow, although maybe it's out. It's hard to say. I'm just guessing directions of flows and how this might have formed. Currents colliding that then hold the system in place because they're generally coming from like planes. They're not just like a single channel. Like it's a overall pressure that then works its way into weak points, but it holds the boundary overall. And then another one that are just because of the amount of high energy current flows, they're just everywhere colliding, creating eddies like non-stop. Like the amount of ammonites we find creating these eddies. Okay. Oh. Again, there's a crack, a something there. There's like a ridge, another one here, right off of there. Interestingly, where it kind of fades out, maybe like it's allowing venting, so it's not able to form as much over there. Hard to say here. Then it seems to have like an ammonite shape. Like if this were to continue, it would produce like a boundary, but just very, very subtly there. Maybe even in like here too, and here too. Maybe that's what they all are, is like the subsequent boundaries that would form and are forming, but just don't form sufficiently to do this. This looks almost like these things are accreting. Right off of there. Interesting, it's even like notably part of this. Oh, we can see some ridges in there. Oh, darn. Okay, playback speed up. They didn't show it very zoomed out, I guess. Interesting. It looks like it anomalously bends. Although maybe that's just like the way it functions. Like this material is more connected to the ammonite because the current did have a path where it could kind of fan out here. I know it's just a broken rock that's not like that like beforehand, but it's breaking based on where current flows made weak points. It's not randomly breaking, so we can still use like things of this nature to contemplate possibilities like that without it just being ridiculous. Whoa. So many. What? Like, where are the shells? It just didn't fossilize these, but this is fine. It's in the same rock. It's in the same nodule. Like, you can tell the boundary of the stone contained it all. Like, why would this be more protected than whatever was here? Like, these are clearly just unstably formed ammonite structures that just were all interacting rather than there being like one. There were just many that then like influence one another more so than one forming by itself. This almost needs me taking a screenshot and zooming in. Those little ripples. Oh, this is the way it protrudes here. That's interesting. It's like current went this way and then turned and pushed out this boundary some reason instead of here. Or maybe came in this way and this way. and then cause this swirl between them again, or this way and this way. It looks like if there's a current coming in this way, that it runs into some other current that just holds a strong boundary. Like it was able to get a little one through at the very edge, but nothing further. At the very edge is common. That's how it works at the very edge of two currents interacting. Things tend to happen at the very edge of their interactions of this nature, as well as, I guess, building up back pressures that then they went sideways, but there was nowhere to go. Maybe going like around this way, but also just spiraling in location here, producing these. That looks like a pattern of four, maybe. Pattern of four, like a window type structure. And then it coming down this way, I'm not sure why I would just do that. Maybe because it was ballooning over here. I'm not sure how it would do that by currents, like produce only a portion of it. I know it happens a lot. This looks like it even has that plus this kind of over here, that plus this. This is truly incredible. I've gotta. What? That's the quality of the screenshot. I can't zoom in. Hope I wasn't blocking too much of this video with my face. Stupid face. Such a stupid face. It's like a turtle with a little tail. Head. Maybe appendages within the shell. Okay, let's see. They got some other ones prepared. Whew. That's interesting. Why would it do that? It looks kind of folded, like the pressure of the current, those side cross current is actually causing it to bend when the current flowing out goes across. It influences it enough to bend and create a stable point. Kind of flattened out, maybe? That's incredible looking. Holy shiza. Again with that crack here, because it's caused by a cross current involved in shaping these always. So like it's a standard operating procedure for there to be imperfections like that, because that's how it happens. Another cross current possibly there. Just based on that region. I'm not sure if that's this one. Is this the same? This might be a different segment of this. Just at the boundary, this little space gets filled with another eddy. Let's see. Just based on this one, its flow is this way, right? So this one should be flowing with it this way. To go in, it doesn't. That's interesting. Anomaly. You mean disproof of your theory, dumbass? Well, fine then. Be that way. It looks like they might be atop one another. Like they're kind of sloped. Like this one's angled down, and like this one's angled also down. Maybe they're more atop one another. Would that change how they interacted? Like adjacent, I would assume, just a casual thought without really thinking it through, that they would spin opposite. This is also spinning the same way though. These are all the same way. The way this looks just reminds me of Shaligrams of... Let's just go there. Shaligram. Something down here. Let's go Shaligrams groups. Most reference, maybe I have it here. No. There's a turtle. Head poking out. Appendages hidden. Don't have it here, no. Don't. Nope. I really thought I might. Spraying the center. Oh yeah, these. Okay. I guess I have to find it. The one, it's got discs. It's got a little, just discs. The ammonite's not formed that well at all, really. It's just discs in the portions of the stone that I'm referring to. There's the turtle again with more features. Here we go. Right? I swore that was it. No. Well, it's got some of the discs here. It's just... It almost makes me think of just a bunch of discs that overlay one another, that at sometimes can be more just disc-like, and other times more undetectably disc-like because of just the amount of times the interacting discs or missing discs. I guess I'm skipped it. Amount of times they like imprint into the stone. Basically, this just looks like a bunch of layers like this that got pressured over to lay sideways a bit. there's a current going this way around. Maybe it continues across and goes this way around. Okay, so there's an overall overwhelming current maybe going this way across. That's interacting with all of them, and then another cross current. That's just between the two, producing several balance points and interactions, which does happen. It does happen where a current will have like spaced regions where it goes through another current, and the Earth's undercurrents. So it probably is something of that nature where, like, in the other ones, it looked like that maybe the current was actually getting stopped to flow, but here it looks like it just flowed generally across and up. Where the one going this way is probably overwhelmed by this one, that this one just kept going. The one going across this way, where the one going up kind of could only create them adjacent, plus in this little space, which actually maybe prevented the growth of these ones a little further out, maybe because that was there. I don't know what. I guess that formed at the very edge of a wider current that was doing the same thing, where it was cutting through sideways in small channels through an even larger current, maybe that just fractally continues to happen, where there's just larger currents that then interact with cross currents that produce eddies. Truly incredible, this piece here. This one reminds me a lot of the Ouroboros in like the way the end of it is. Okay, that's probably it. Okay, that's all I got. I'll be back, I guess. Very interesting. I'm not sure how to like technically apply it in a rigorous way and be like, here's the maths. See you guys later.